So, I believe we have an offer on the table that is of gross, not net. We've established the surcharge, we established a percentage of gross ticket sales, and we've established the original 6%, which flows through.
Correct.
There is a motion, there is a second. This would be a floor amendment to memorialize these proffers. Is that correct, Madam City Attorney?
Yes, we have to
So
write all that.
Does the mover accept those amendments? Yes. So does the seconder. Is there any? We need to open this for public comment at this point.
No, it's item RE5. When we get to PC13, there will need to be public comment.
Fair enough. We did open public comment already for the morning's items, except, I did say at that time, except for any of the time certains, I believe. Did I?
If anybody wants to speak at this time, but you did open it up to the public if they were here at that time.
I'll just in fairness, if there's anyone here to speak on the Ferris wheel item, I'll open public comment. Is there anyone here who'd like to make a public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any further discussion from the dais?
Yes.
Commissioner Carollo.
Madam City Attorney, on the contract, proposed contract that you have, is this going to come back to this commission, or are you going to finalize it based on the vote here? How will this proceed from here on?
Right. So basically, we would make the amendments as described, and we're also going to make sure that it's specific to the Ferris wheel, nothing else. So that needs to be amended, plus the amendments and the proffers on the contract numbers that you've discussed, plus adding the ticket surcharge. All that would be placed into the contract, and then all of our standard clauses with regard to that. Now, you had talked about a time frame. I don't think that's been discussed further, but so I'm just reminding you, you had mentioned the
that's where we left it at before Commissioner Ray as well. And Hardiman, I don't believe what Crest was just put that, well, let me leave it at that. I don't want to.
For the record, it was a funny. It was sarcastic.
Well, I know it. I know it.
The minutes don't really capture that.
I know that. I'm teasing you. Look, I think this commission needs to start more acting like business board or directors when we're doing business. If you swallow all the crying, if that's what it is, and not that much money they're going to make, and the foot traffic and everything, and we're going to ignore what all these wheels show on the internet as their gross, or the amount of people they get, what they charge, etc., and that's on the public domain. Then we should go forward and approve it for a 1-year time frame only. Give them a license, if that's the way that we could do it, and the city attorney will guide us, for 1 year. And then we could revisit what they really made, if you're voting based on that, after 1 year, and this could be looked at again.
Commissioner Hardiman.
The only reason that probably would not work is because of finance. If they need to build it, they can't justify taking a loan out.
Listen, somehow the city has given them permits. They've been building this. I had a meeting of the Bayfront Park Trust a couple of days ago. They were building away there. So that's not the issue. If you read everywhere, they're building this wheel already and ready to go. So it's not a financing issue from what I've seen whatsoever. This item is about air rights and only air rights, and what do we want to sell to Bayside, not to the wheel operators, are air rights for. so they could use that. What I'm saying is, look at that possibility. You move forward on what you have brought before here for 1 year only, and we're revisiting the financial amounts afterwards. I really do think it's wrong on Bayside's part to have shifted monies to the wheel operators that put up all the money into this so they could make more.
Vice Chairman, I'm sorry, you weren't finished.
Finish.
Go ahead.
Finish. The reason I don't have a problem with this, first of all, the investment is going to be quite a few $1 million investment. As a member of the finance, anytime you're going to do an investment, you can have certain time that you may be able to recuperate your investment. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with this because I hope they sell $15 million. Because whatever, if the volume goes up, it goes up, the benefit goes up to the city of Miami also. I think we have worked out a good deal. You helped a lot to work out a very good deal, which I think we have at this moment. So I'm ready to vote on it right now.
Guys, I do believe in that, and again, I thank you for giving me all the credit, but I don't feel I've gotten across that if we charge for our air rights what they're truly worth for this, the more it goes up, we're going to make a lot more than the 10% right now. And we're in the driver's seat. So understand that, because I'm not hearing too much business-like opinions out of this day as today. And I hope going into the future that changes, because I've seen better savvier business people crash with making even better decisions than these in business. And I'm not seeing that these are savvy business decisions that we're making today. And you mentioned about that investment. Yeah, the wheel people invest. But Bayside, our lease holder, they haven't invested anything here.
Right.
That's the difference. And that's the point that I've been making all along.
All right.
But after this is done, I fully intend to come back to this board for an ordinance change. And if need be, I'll put it as a charter change. No, that from here on, all these business deals like this, they have to be done by getting outside expert firms that can tell us what they're really worth. This commission is not qualified to make those decisions, and I'm seeing that more and more that we're shortchanging the residents of Miami. So that's my opinion on that. I just want to make sure now that the surcharge is spelled clearly in the contract that they signed, Madam City Attorney, that these surcharges could be raised or changed
As amended.
at any time by the City Commission, even before they start in operation or long after they begin.
And Mr. Chairman, I just want a point of privilege, if I can. I want to say that I'm actually, as city attorney for the city of Miami and defending the rights of all the elected officials doing their job on a daily basis, I will tell you that I am very disappointed in this sub-lessee to Bayside trying to sue the city and keep an elected official from voting on an item. I just want you to know that I feel that every elected member of this board is able to do what they're supposed to do pursuant to Florida statute and required to do. They're required to vote on items. The fact that they did this and obviously they withdrew their temporary injunction, I just want to say that I am disappointed in that type of action.
Noted. Thank you very much.
Well, they withdraw a temporary injunction, but not the final hammer.
Correct. They still have the.
That's okay.
Deluxe.
I got Psalm 91 all the way.
Thank you very much. All right, let's bring this item to a close. Is there any
Chair.
further discussion from the dais?
Chair, my apologies. Commissioner Corio, was that a friendly amendment that you were requesting from the maker of the motion regarding the surcharges? Or I'm sorry.
Well,
That's
what is
already
contract?
incorporated in what we
That's
talked
been
about
incorporated.
as
Yeah,
amended.
it's
But
not-
we would
yeah.
amend, the contract is also going to state that the, Ferris wheel will pay the parking surcharge or as amended pursuant to chapter 53 of the city
Yes.
code as amended.
Last but not least, so that my colleagues up here could all be protected, in RE5, since this is not a zoning item, it's only a financial item on the air rights, nobody up here has to publicly divulge like we do in zoning items, whom they have met with or not, correct?
We're only dealing with RE5, right?
Exactly, only RE5, that's why I'm saying that.
Right.
All
For,
right, so I wanted-
RE5 is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the city's lease.
I-
We will clearly define, after we pass, the exception, what the feet will be for this item, because the only thing that's being amended in this Fifth Amendment is, for the Ferris wheel, the location of the Ferris wheel is depicted, will be attached and where it is going to be located, and the amount of feet, and no more than that.
His only question was, is there a Jennings requirement?
Nope.
Thank you. All right.
Well,
Not for
that
this
wasn't
item.
my question, I wanted to put it on the record. I do want to bring something else up to this body that would be good if we incorporated into the contract. The city has a right on a yearly basis to do an audit.
Sure.
That's per section 2-67 of the city code and other
That's automatic.
items. Yeah,
All leases
and that's also a
in the city has to
provision,
have an audit.
our standard provision in the contracts.
Okay, can you make sure it's in big bold letters so they can read it?
14 font.
No, we gotta make sure the administration and our people does the job.
Fair enough. RE5 has been amended, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any
Nay.
opposed?
Nay.
Noted, 3-1. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then the companion item, please, is PZ13?
As amended, by the way, for that.
Yes.
Amendment.
PZ13 is the companion item within zoning for the Ferris wheel. Is there a motion on PZ13?
I want to do getting disclosure. I met with our staff and the proponent of the first one.
Is there a motion on PZ13?
Move it.
Moved, seconded by the chair.
And for Jennings, anybody else has to make any Jennings declarations here?
Yes, if you'd like the whole formal statement or just,
Just that you met with.
sure. We met with the applicant and our attorney.
No one met with me. Right. So I need to make a general disclosure. I believe I met with one of the members of the team vying for the Ferris wheel.
And altogether, this meeting has no impact on our impartiality in this matter, and I wish we can hear in a neutral
How
manner
far
without
back,
bias.
Madam City Attorney, how far back in Jennings do we disclose?
Whatever, if you were talking about this item that you're going to vote on, as many times as this item came up,
Oh.
this particular item,
This
remember that there
particular
were
item,
other amendments that we made to that wouldn't require Jennings. This one has only come up twice before, or once before, I believe.
Okay.
So whenever.
Can you, for the record, explain what this item is about?
This item it's an exception to allow a Ferris wheel, and also a height waiver. But Mr. Garcia is here and he could, explain it exactly what it is for, but it is an exception to allow the use of a Ferris wheel and a height waiver. And if you can also state, the feet the approximate feet, because we're going to make sure that we amend the agreement to state that the feet for the Ferris wheel or the stories or what have you.
For the record, Francisco Garcia, Planning Director. So item PZ13 is before you as an exception, which requires City Commission approval. Some don't, but this one does. And it also incorporates as a lower permit, a waiver. On the exception side, the exception is for the use. In this case, an amusement ride, and in particular, a Ferris wheel or sky wheel as it's being called. On the waiver side, the waiver is required because the height limit for this particular zoning designation, T680, would otherwise be approximately 165 feet. The actual height limit is set forth in stories, so it's 12 stories, each measured at 14 feet approximately. Because a Ferris wheel does not have stories proper, there is an alternative measurement which has wordage such as monuments, belfries, bell towers, etc., which typically don't have stories. And through that measurement and through a waiver, they are able to get to, I believe the code says 190 feet. They are not requesting 190 feet, they are requesting 180 feet. Both the exception with City Commission approval and the waiver are before you for your consideration and to either approve, deny, or approve with conditions as you see fit.
Okay. Now, voting for this has nothing to do with the item that we just voted upon, that was the air rights. That's a total separate matter, correct?
That is correct, sir. The development capacity of the property remains untouched, and the height provided here is specifically for this item, nothing else.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bert
very much.
Jennings, the executive vice president, I think is his title. I believe his name is Joe Press, who was here. Met with me on the Monday, I believe, after the meeting. After the conversation was not to his good graces, is when they took CERT action against me. When they saw that I don't roll over and play dead. So just wanted to put it on the record, as per Jennings, that I met with him.
Thank you very much. There's been a motion, there's a second. Are there any amendments? Is there any further discussion on the dais? Hearing none, all in, of
Can we get a roll call on this?
course. And we've already opened for public comment on the RE section, but for the PZ item, is there anyone here who'd like to speak on the Ferris wheel exception?
I think you mentioned that before. No?
Well, it was on the other item. I just want to make sure we follow all procedure. Hearing none, I'll close. Hello, Madam Holmes.
Madam Holmes again, the Executive Director at Our Homes Opportunities for United Restoration. Just a quickie. Watched this thing from a long time ago when they planned to have this big spiraling thing. I live on the other side. Remembering Bayside was built by a lot of men and women. I slept on the floor many a nights trying to get overtime to get there. I wanted to work that job at the time to pay for law school and to pay for my small business. So I'm grateful for Bayside, but there's still a lack of occupying some of the local Black and or women-owned businesses. So when you talk about growth and expansion, I've got my priorities too. When you talk about environment, I'm concerned about my rights to clean air and my rights to a great view and what happens to the environment on the road when so many people are treachery and chopping and so forth and the fracking that will occur to get things done. I'm concerned about the expansion, but more so than ever, sir, I'm concerned about a covenant that was made between the community and small businesses in the area. And although we have scholarships, that air does not belong to Bayside alone. It belongs to all of us in downtown. That view, that promise, that covenant was made to us, not just between city government. So it's the negotiating, also the negotiating of our right to know what the clean air effect is. Isn't there a right to know for every citizen on every project what the clean air issue will be? Isn't our right to know what the environmental impact would be? And so I'm just asking intelligent questions because they're intelligent requirements that are made in writing, and I haven't heard any respective answers as of yet. But most of all and last of all, I thank you for having this discussion. But this is not the discussion that I heard about this down at the county, and you know, as a lobbyist and an advocate, I'm constantly attending one meeting. So what's the input on them when it comes to this? Because there was a covenant on some land very, very close. How is this going to affect that land, and how is it going to affect the environment? I appreciate your thoroughness, but this is going to impact people in Overtown, not just on this side by Bayside, but those on the other side. of that FDOT 836 and all that. So what are we starting here, and how are we going to ensure that it's finished well? You've set some limits, and I appreciate that, Commissioner Carollo, and some oversight. But I don't want to make one thing clear. That air ain't just air for people on the east side of I-95. It's for us on the other side of Overtown. And that promise made for those as women, business owners that work, built, brick and mortar on Bayside has yet to be met. Please be very thorough, be very limited, and keep the promises. Because I'm sick and tired of men building fun things that women get naked pictures on top of. And then when we ask the intelligent question, we can't get them, let alone I can't afford the space over there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Holmes. Can I get a roll call on PZ13, please?
Roll call on item PZ13. Commissioner Hardiman.
Microphone.
4.
Commissioner Coyle.
No, for the reasons that I stated before, but while I vote no on this, I want to make clear, I'm in favor 100% of the wheel concept. What I'm not in favor of is for Bayside to profit so heavily when they haven't put a penny there, and we get such a small amount, and that we haven't even taken a real market study like I demanded, and we finally are getting on Mel Reese.
Thank you very much. So that's, continue, please.
Commissioner Gore.
Let me make a little statement. The reason I'm for it, we've been going through this for about a year and a half. And any property that the city of Miami rents out, and we can acquire a lot more funding, we can get additional funding for the general funds, I'm in favor of it. And by the way, let me tell you something. I have not received any donation from Bayside Foundation. On the contrary, I have given to Bayside Foundation funds to do additional scholarship. For those reasons, I vote yes.
Chair Russell.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
All right. Now we do have a time.